All right, here we go. My name's Dan. This is Neomustangs. This is my foxbody Mustang channel, and we'll wait for some people to get here in the live chat, live stream. Give it a moment. Check out the chat. What's up, Broken Tool? What's up, Zach? There was a silver notch back in the garage in the 351 Windsor Stroker video. Oh, that's not my fox body. That's not the engine that it's going in either. Cash 187. Anybody have a Tubular K member they want to sell? Big ups, my fellow. What up, KP? All right, guys. So my name's Dan. This is Neomustangs. This is my fox body Mustang. All right. We have the topic tonight. Every live stream, I like to talk about a topic. I like to have something that I can, bring to the fox body community or the car community about, maybe my experiences specifically with fox body Mustangs themselves, or just general mechanics or what have you. So today, before we get into it, I'll talk about last week. Today we're going to be talking about overbuilding and underbuilding and why it's important. To you buy right or buy twice. It's like a rabbit hole. We talked about the rabbit hole quite a bit when we were building our when we talked about that in a recent live stream. It's definitely real, that's for sure. So we're gonna definitely talk about what's up Hicks House videos. You guys get a chance, go check out Hicks House. He's got a YouTube channel as well. He's also got a very, very killer Capri. Love this Capri. It's on point. Love that thing. Love the stroker build. Nice job on the content. I appreciate that. Big Stick Stangs. What's going on? DK spent 2.5 hours fighting 351 Windsor headers. Oh, they are a pain in the ass. That's his for sure. What's up, Fat Boy Fox? What's up, Big Fox 302? James Salter. Anyways, yesterday was my birthday, so I'm the big 4 or 5. It seems like a lot of the guys in the fox body community are not. A lot of people in the fox body community fall in that like age range of like 35 to like 45 and on up and whatever. Definitely kind of nice to see more interest in the fox body, with the younger generations. Definitely something that kind of motivates me to, kind of teach and try to, share my experiences like I'm about to share right now on this live stream and kind of give them a heads up, the younger generation. So when they're building their fox bodies, they might not have to go through the same woes that we did, 20 or 30 years ago. So, yeah, we hit 45 yesterday, level 45 in life. I had a great, that's what I'm going to talk about this before we get into our conversation. We had Fat Man Invasions, which was it was a charity event. So it's, I think there's 2 in each calendar year. But big shout out to Cunley Motorsports Park for putting on and of course the Fat Man Invasion itself, putting on a hell of a show. It's kind of like a car show meet where a lot of street tires and just bring what you brung goes down the track. But, Tom ended up doing a shootout and I helped them a little bit with the stick shift stuff. We had a nice little stick shift shootout yesterday. Had about 9 cars in it. Had about $750 up for grabs, and we had a good time. Things didn't go my way. I ended up red lighting and not moving on in the later stages of but you guys will see the video of that. So Fat Man's is basically a great charity event that I'm not sure what charity he has going on this year, but I think he changes charities every year. Adam does, Tom and Matt. But anyways, big shout out to the track as well for, there was a couple oil downs and stuff like that. That's where we were at all day yesterday. And we were fighting, the track was a little greasy, but what can you say when you have 500 cars going down the track? But definitely happy birthday. That's awesome. What'd Zach say? I'm 18 in November, got into fox bodies through my dad. Man, that's really cool, dude. And, maybe I can, if you, watch the channel, stay tuned in the channel, you might be able to help you in some way, shape or form on your fox body. So that's really cool, man. I appreciate all the happy birthdays, guys. Do appreciate that for sure. So anyways, that's what we had going on yesterday. So I got up at like 6 in the morning, And to cousin Paul and Sandy's surprise, I did show up at the track a little early. They had bets that I wasn't going to be there till noon, but I ended up getting there about a little after 9. Long day. You know, we set up the booth. White car made a couple passes. And it's going to lead me into what I'm talking about with the live stream, because, you know, I like to have a theme about overbuilding and underbuilding today. That's what we're, you know, I kind of went on a rant like earlier today, just talking about it. And I felt that was a great live stream to have. So what's the best slicks, 26-inch or for a stick shift car? Now, if you can get a 28 under your car, if you have an LX model car, you can get a 28 under there pretty easily. GT models got a little bit of an issue because it, you know, a 28 grows pretty good as far as the tire itself. So it'll get into your spats, and it'll get into your rear, you know, your rear GT skirting and whatever. So yeah. So guys, I appreciate Sean Fisher for being a new member, man. Thank you so much. If you guys want to check out that membership below, I do talk a lot in chat, in blog. You guys get my videos early. We decide on live streams. We decide on, you know, thumbnails and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that go into, you know, just not just donating to the channel. So thanks, Sean Fisher, for joining the Neomustangs channel. You know, it's it's never mandatory, but it's always appreciated. I appreciate you guys. So anyways, what's up, Mike Straminski? It's good to see you, man. I've been following your cars over on, I think Mafia is when you've been posting. You've been posting on a couple of them, but looks really good, man. It looks really good, Mike. What's the best 26-inch slick for stick? What's the best slicks 26-inch for a stick shift car? If you can get a 28, like I said, underneath of it, Mickey Thompson ET Streets. I think they're 3053S. That might be the 28s though. That's you definitely want to run with a stiff sidewall. That's what they call it. That's what the S is. Don't run with a regular ply. You know, you need that stiff sidewall for the shock. Want to throw a 10-speed in it. Zach, are you talking about the 10R80? Anyways, Neomustangs, did you ever do street tire drag racing? I've done some. Definitely have to turn my tune down and change it. We kind of, you know, we don't really get into that too much. I mean, there's a hard tire class here in Northeast Ohio that's really cool. They actually decide through each event what tread wear you're going to have for the next race. So sometimes it's 200, sometimes it's 400. It's really crazy. You can't have any drag radial, you can't have any slick. So it's definitely kind of puts a damper on, you know, making the most horsepower and going on the track. So it's all about going A to B at that point. What's up, NJP? Would you recommend a 351 or 408 with a 10-speed? 408. Thank you. She is ready for a tune, trying to get that touch with Leach so I can get it learned out. Okay. So one of the recent, what brings me to the overbuilding and underbuilding scenario is I want to take my black car into as an example. You know, we put a lot of money into our fox bodies, you know, just in car themselves. You know, you overthink the engine. You might build a 408 like I did, or a 363 like I did. You might end up putting a Coyote in it. You know, you might put a turbo Coyote in it. You might put nitrous Coyote. You could do a lot of things and make a lot of power. And it's pretty much at the point to where you got your engine swaps out there. You got the templates per se that you know can make power. Okay. Now, what's going on in my white car, and the reason why I want to bring all this up is my experiences with it, is the fact that I'm definitely underbuilt in my black car at this point. So like we did a live stream a while back in the tiers of power. I don't know if you guys remember that. And it was like, we had tier 1 was like a, you know, GT40 heads and a stock bottom end. And tier 2 was like your standard 30 over or 347. And then your tier 3 was like, you know, your 363s, all your aftermarket blocks, 427s, and even the 408 builds are in the middle of that. So we did the tiers of power, and it's kind of like as you go, and I'm referencing that live stream as you go through your tiers of power, okay, with your foxbody Mustang, where okay, I want to stick an on-3 kid. Okay, let's take for an example. You bought a foxbody coupe. It's beautiful, and you know it's got a stock motor. So what's the first thing you want to do? You want to make more power. Oh, I can do a top end. I can do a camshaft. I can do, you know, there's a number of things that you can do to your foxbody that was going to make it go faster and sound better and whatever, exhaust, whatever. But the thing of the matter is if you don't, when you throw power at a foxbody, you have to change everything else. Do you understand? So like you don't, just because your car makes like you know, 500 horsepower or 750 horsepower, like both my cars make 800. We haven't made past that. You know, even 1,000. You know, there's such a large you know, void of area of concern that your car is not going to respond to that horsepower. So taking for my white car for an example, because I'll call myself out on some stuff. You know, my white car makes 800 wheel. You guys seen it? You guys seen it at Ford Takeover. It actually makes a little bit more than that, but whatever. It's done. It's exceeded way more expectations than I ever thought it would on my 408, being a production junkyard block. But having that much horsepower and trying to get that much horsepower to be safely driven down a track or on a road at that level is like a whole nother feat in itself. So my white car is, I wouldn't say significantly underbuilt, but there's things in the car that I have to go back through, even in its current form, to not only lighten the car up a little bit, but to, you know, and make it go straighter, but to reinforce the power plant that I've put in front of it. And that could almost come into like a safety problem too, when you're making too much power and, you know, you're, you know, don't even get me started on this black car back here. We're about to talk about that here in a second, but you know, the white car, you know, I'm preaching about it because, you know, we went to the stick shift event yesterday and it's just going left, it's going right. And I'm pretty sure that I'm getting down to the point to where it's, the bump steer was correct and it corrected one problem. The putting the knuckle on and getting rid of the rag joint created, you know, it fixed another problem. But it's like, you know, every time, you know, I got all this power in the front of the motor, but then it's just going to go to the next level. It's going to go to the next weakest link. And that's where I get to, that's where I get with the underbuilding. I haven't really overbuilt anything, but we'll talk an example about that too. But like another example is when you're, you know, when you're putting an on-3 kit or a supercharger on a stock bottom end motor, you know, is your car going to be able to respond with your control arms and your axles? Your fuel pump going to be able to keep up? Is it wired correctly? There's just this rabbit hole. Like legitimately this rabbit hole that you fall into when you start making power. And in the resto world that, you know, some people say, well, you know, that's never gonna be me. I'm never gonna make any more than 250 or 300 horsepower. But in the resto world, it's kind of the same thing, because you still have to go through your foxbody if you're gonna resto mod it. And, you know, with the bushings and the stuff that we talk about here on the channel, just things that are rotting, like the seals and the weather stripping. But the point I'm trying to make is I'm trying to make an example of my white car and what I recently had an issue with my fox body, my turbo car. So let me answer some questions real quick. Bummer, this build Summit sent me wrong universal joints. Thank you. She's ready for a tune. She learned that G-body shuffle. That's correct. What's up, Jesse L? Country just picked up an Aeromotive fuel rails. Now looking AN fittings. You should do a video on plumbing AN. So the white car, you know, moving on to the white car. Now I have overbuilt my axle in the white car. It's like a 35 spline. It's a 9-inch ends. It's got, you know, rear disc. There's really no way at my power level I'm going to break that thing. But you know, I didn't put like a hardened gear set in it. So, you know, I got a weak a weak gear set in there. So I underbuilt that, and I didn't, I didn't put double adjustable shocks in the back. So I got a problem because my 10-ways and 10-way strain shocks work perfectly fine. They work great up until like a certain horsepower. When I'm putting 8 or 9 valving in the single 10-ways to get the tire to stick on the track, that tells you something. It tells you you're pretty much out of shock in the back. And the fact of the matter is my geometry is wrong. My car is underbuilt for its power level, even at 750, 800, to go 9s or even to go into the 890s or 590s, and something there's just not right. You know what I mean? So I have to go through the car again because it just wasn't made for that. And it's not something that I can't do. It's not something I won't do, but it's almost gets into that rabbit hole scenario. It's just like, okay, well, while I'm here, I'm going to change this. I'm going to get the best of that. I'm going to get the best of this. But this is why I always preach overbuilding and underbuilding isn't really per se a problem. And it's actually a good problem because especially if you underbuild something, you can build around it. You know what I mean? You get something that works and something that's special, that's consistently, working in your favor as far as, running consistent times and being powerful and doing everything you ask it to do. Now I need to build my white car around it. So I got to start going through my shock settings. I'm going to lighten the car up a little bit. We're going to change the suspension geometry where we're going to put it on an alignment rack. And we're going to actually raise the front of the car about 3 inches. And then we're going to set our toe and bury our caster plates. You see what I mean? So we're going to change it up a little bit. And I'm going to bring it here to the channel and kind of show you, my efforts to make the car better at that power level. But, and then, as you get further, as you make more power, as my buddy Corey Binks is having an issue with, it's just like you can't use it. You can't utilize so much power because it's either the tire or the suspension geometry or the tunes coming in too strong. You have to almost like always be messing with it, considering what the track conditions are or whatever. And this is still street cars that are driven often, but it's crazy. Hey, Neo, you know anything about diesels? I do not. I don't think my T5 is going to be last. So there's an example. The country had said that, T5 is a perfect example of an underbuild. Now, it's only underbuilt if you leave it that way. If you got a 306 and you got a T5, or excuse me, a turbo kit on, even a supercharger, entry-level supercharger or what have you, that's just the way it's going to be. If you put a T5, especially a well-built one or reinforced one, a T5 will definitely, will survive just fine on a little bit of horsepower. It just all depends on how you drive. But it's something that like a rabbit hole, you want to start planning to get a better, get a better, bell housing, maybe get a TKX. TKX would be the next level up from a T5, in my opinion. Obviously, and T56 mag would be the king of it all. T45 versus T56. Which one is better? T56 by far. T45 is no better than a T5. Country or my axles, they are 20. Yeah, 28 is stock. You talk about dynamic alignment versus static. Yeah, so Paul, we're talking about taking the white car to the alignment rack. Like we just aligned the black car. It was in one of the last videos. I took that thing out there on the track, or not track, but I took that thing out there today when we went to the car show, and I let that thing have it at about 13 pounds. That thing was straight as an arrow. Like I ain't drove it that straight, pedaling the shit out of it in a long time. So something worked, and I'll be curious to see what happens because we'll probably take the black car out to the track on Wednesday if you guys want to see the video on that with all the new suspension stuff in the front that we changed. We changed height, we changed caster camber setups, we changed toe and bump steer. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what it does. It's still, my car's still 3450 racing with race weight. So, you don't expect a crazy time on it. But, if I was to lighten that thing up 500 or 600 pounds, it would be beating the white car. I am leaning towards a T56 as well. I just wanted to hear from others' experience. If you can afford a T56 swap, just do it. KPP, KPKP. What do you think is better, a street performance rebuilt 302 or a Ford Performance 302 EFI crate? How much power do you think an AOD can handle in stock? AODs are pretty much they're like T5s, but a little bit weaker. The valve body and you know the input itself. I'm not an AOD expert, but if you have something in front of the AOD, I mean, I think a crate motor is what, 400, 350 to the crank or so. So I would just a street performance rebuild 302 that you can do yourself would probably be the best bet. Chosen, how do you compare reliability of a 93 Fox body versus a Grand Marquis? Because I was buying a Fox body for a daily driver. The 93 Fox bodies are always going to be superior in weight transfer, in just weight itself, you know, horsepower to weight ratio. You know, they're a small car. They're like a 104 wheelbase factory. They're considered a small car. That's why they like to use them in derbies. Because they're a rear wheel drive car. They make a pretty mean little you know, compact, the compact car in the if you build them for like a derby or some shit like that. But they're just small. They're just reliable. I've always worried about blowing a head gasket if I turn the boost up on my blow-through setup. Only running 5 PSI right now, 302 comp E74 HR. 5 pounds. I mean, these motors just start getting started at about 9 pounds. Jesse, there is no aftermarket gear sets for T45. You can upgrade the input from 10 spine to 26 spine with also a synchro rockers. Yeah, it's why I would just stick with that. Gear wind first to third. How soon is the death? If it's whining, then that means that the pitch of the gears have probably seen their day. You could change the fluid and try to change that, you know, help it out a little bit. But if they're whining, then it's just they start whining because the gears have changed significantly. Same thing with the rear axle. You could probably, you know, if you was to tear that T5 apart, you could probably do okay. If you was to re-shim everything and make sure everything was tight in there. rear wheel drive broken. My buddy ran a Granada with a 302 supercharged. He drag races in door slam class. He rebuilt yet after 2 years. Compression is on point. Good job, sir. Appreciate that. All right, so what are we gonna have to do? We're underbuilt with the white car, and you could it's easily. I mean, not everybody has. You know, you work with what you have. You know, if you got a 302 and you're sticking a supercharger or a turbocharger on it or boost or whatever, you work with what you got. You know, but you know, when you build something or change something or modify your Fox body, do it once. You know, it's you don't have to shoot for the stars with the horsepower. You know, I've worked my way. My white car used to run like 14.3s or 14.4s, made like 260 horsepower. It had like a stock bottom end 306. Just cheap slugs, and you know, like I don't know. I think they were cast. You know, might have been hyper eutectic. But we had the cheap Edelbrock heads on there. Had a tubular intake. Car made a whopping 262 horsepower. But that's where it started. That's why I still got the blue convoluted or conduit tubing. Is that right? That sits inside the engine bay on the original harnesses. Put some sawdust in it. That'll stop the whine. I appreciate that, Chosen. No big deal. Jeff, that only works in cameras or Camaros. Yes, no problem, MJP. So what are we going to have to do to the white car to kind of get it back into where the build spec of the 408 and the power it makes is? We have to change the shocks. Like I said, we're going to lighten the car up a little bit. You know, we're going to mess with the suspension. Definitely going to be messing with suspension. And, you know, we just put a bump steer on there. We thought it was right. Was not right. So it's a bomb proof. Okay. What's up, War Admiral? Good to see you. You guys haven't checked out Tom's amazing Coop over on Instagram. Make sure you guys go check him out. Hey, Hanlon, what parts do you recommend for the TR 3650 before I poke it? So let's talk about overbuilding. The 363 in this black car is an overbuild. There's definitely more power in that motor, the possibility of the power in that motor than that car could ever handle. Like I was saying, just because you make 500, just because you make 750 or more, doesn't mean that your car can do it. You know what I mean? Just doesn't mean that your car is going to be able to handle that horsepower. You know, we often get into the whole, you know, oh, that car makes, you know, 1,000 horsepower. And, you know, the questions I'm going to have when I hear a car making 1,000 horsepower is I'd like to know what axle's in it, you know, what control arms, what torque box settings do they have, you know, pinion angles. I'm asking questions like that because to be able to make 1,000 horsepower work, I mean, that's a crazy fast car at that point if everything's working. We assume that that's all been done. I mean, you would assume that was done on my white car, and it's not. So, you know, my car's a little bit underbuilt right now. We got some things we want to do to it, but I'm not out there knocking anybody for making horsepower. I'm just, you know, when we go into that rabbit hole, and this, I'm just meaning in general, when we get into that building our fox body or a car for that matter, you know, we can't not revisit the areas that need the most attention to make the power work for us. Transmission, clutch, rear axle, you know, and you want to definitely build it to the spec of whatever power you're making. So if you're making 500, you can get away with 10-way single adjustables. You can get away with a 35 spline axle. You can get away with a single disc clutch. You know what I mean? See what I'm talking about? And what we should have done with this is we should have actually went the tiers of power with overbuilding and underbuilding. And I could have, you know, basically kind of went through that with you a little bit, but yeah, it's not the speed, it's the consistency. What's up, Smurfette? What's up? Partly cloudy. It's good to see you. Tires are the biggest one. Yes. So, like the tiers of power, underbuilding and overbuilding. Where is my whiteboard? Here we go. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about this stuff. I don't know. So if you're making like factory power, we'll say factory power is anywhere between, I don't know, 250, 225, 250 to like 350, 375. Cousin Paul, we're out of towels. Tires are the biggest one. So what do we do here? Oh, this was our live stream the other week where we talked about the 4-cylinder to V8 swap. Pretty cool, huh? I usually like the whiteboard, man. You know, we'll sit here and talk some shit here on live stream about this topic, underbuilding and overbuilding, kind of like a transition to building. Schools. Oh, so while I'm getting this ready, I wanted you guys to know that we were going to do a gift card today from Hanlon Motorsports, but I think we're going to wait on that. We were going to do, also, we're going to be giving away in the next few weeks, we're going to be giving away I think it's a paved parking spot for Foxtoberfest. So if you are heading to Foxtoberfest this year, there's a handful of us content creators in the fox body genre that were tasked by Jen over at Fox Resto. So shout out to her. And we were given like 9 or 10 spots to give away. They're like $50 or something like that to normally get. But I think we're going to be giving that away soon. I got to get with Fox Resto because my weekend for giving that spot away is coming up soon. So anyways, we're going to talk about stock power. So stock power is between, 250 and 350, whatever. So like, when you're underbuilding, when you're running like a stock power, and you're gonna put, how do I want to approach this? And you're gonna put a turbo kit on. So you're gonna install a turbo kit. Oh boy, I'm already misspelling it. If you're gonna install a turbo kit, nitrous, supercharger, install power adder. The first things you're going to want to do after you install a power adder is you're going to want to think about your transmission. If you're running an AOD, you're going to want to think about a stall. So AOD, you're going to want to think about a stall converter. You're also going to want to think about like a shift kit, right? For manual, we'll just say you're going to want to think about clutch. You want to think about flywheel. You see what I mean? So when you're stock and you're getting ready to install a power adder, you're going to want to start thinking about things like this, because this power adder is going to increase your power by 100%, maybe. Let's call it, let's say it makes 450 to 500 now. So the next thing you're going to have to really, and this is this is building, underbuilding and overbuilding, kind of like the tiers of power that you have to do to your fox body to get it to kind of jive with the power that it's making in front of it. So, the rear axle on a stock fox body will handle about 400 horsepower, but the problem with the rear axle is it's on C-clips and it's on a drum. So if you was to actually snap an axle, it could come flying out. Matter of fact, we had one that we snapped here on the channel at the drag strip on Dad's car, and it came out the hole. So rear axle, you're going to want to upgrade at the same time to at least a 31 spline. Now there's plenty of cars out there that you can steal a 31 spline. Well, Explorer and trucks, you can steal a diff, make it budget. You can buy 4-lug or 5-lug, it doesn't really matter, but 31 spline will get you. Matter of fact, my black car is one of them 31 spline builds, and we make 750 to the wheels on this one. It's survived with C-clip eliminators. That's also a very good one. So you're going to want to upgrade that and C-clips. You see where I'm going with that? So we're going to make another column for cars that make like 600 to 800. And then your top tier stuff is literally your third tier. And I'm not going to get into that because I'm not too much of an expert with 1,000+ horsepower, but you're talking, mincer shocks, you're talking some big stuff. So the 9 o'clock train is early. So rear axle, upgrade to 31 spline, C-clips, maybe gear your, while you're changing gears, you want to change the gears at the same time. That'd be a good time to do that or what have you. So we're talking about the trans, talking about the axle. Suspension's another big one. If you actually want the car to perform pretty well at 450 to 500, you're going to want to put a rear shock on. So a rear shock at this level is, a QA1 10-way. Or excuse me, a Strange 10-way single. And that's a single adjustable. And what a Strange 10-way single adjustable will do for you. I really need to bring my, I'll probably bring my tire over here and see if I can get it to sit on it. Right here. What a Strange 10-way adjustable will do, and 10-ways are good up to about 750, or I don't know. Some people out there say that they're still running their 10-ways pretty well at higher horsepower, but you guys can see that. I need to write bigger, but the rear shock 10-ways will get you, in the 450. You can run them stock with a lighter car. The reason why I say stock is because we had a member that was at our booth yesterday, Dominic C, which he's probably here in chat. And he runs a kind of a purposely built, you know, street strip car. I don't remember if did he drive that car there, Sandy, or I think that was actually, I think that was actually trailered, but he's got one seat in it. There's no interior in it. Stock block with a cam. We started messing with his timing. It's carbureted. His springs aren't all that good. Basically, his car is at the point now to where it needs to kind of step up into this tier here. I talked about the rear axle. I talked about anti-roll bar. I told him about the shock settings and the shocks. He didn't have any of that stuff. So that's kind of where that's kind of what gave me the idea with my white car, his car, and Corey's car that was over to my right. And Corey's makes 1,300 horsepower. Mine makes 800. And Dom's probably make like 250, 300. And that's kind of where I got this whole live stream from. So, yeah, so rear shock, and I wouldn't really necessarily worry about front shocks at this power level because it's not really, but definitely the rear shock, the gear, the axles, because you'll start busting axles at 450, 500. If you're an AOD, the stall, converter, shift kit, obviously manuals, clutch, and flywheel. So that's kind of like where we're at with, oh, well, of course you want your supporting stuff, you know. We're talking subframes, right? You don't really necessarily need a cage at this power level, but I would definitely go with like at least a roll bar. You definitely don't need, you probably don't need a set of torque box reinforcements either, but this is where you need to start thinking. At this level here is where you need to start thinking about torque box reinforcements because you will rip them out. There's literally like 3 spot welds that hold the back of that, the back of that torque box literally up on the frame. There's like 3. And they're all starting to lip off as it sits right now. So HR trail. Oh, okay. So he trailed it 10-4. Greg, check out Eric the Car Guy's channel for the 8.8 build. One more question. For a brake upgrade, would SN95 5-bolt hubs, what does that say? Be a perfect upgrade for go with that. It's just, if you can go 5-lug, then Dodge, what are some of the things to look out when you're doing a 351 swap? We already did that live stream. Go check that one out, Zach. What power level you worry about torque boxes? This is pretty much where you start worrying about. Torque boxes should be one. Your torque box reinforcements should go in about the same time your subframes do, in my opinion. Because that's definitely like a reinforcing thing. Roll bar, I wouldn't really worry about a roll bar at this point just yet. I would make plans to, you know, some people don't like them. If you put the full length subframes in, and even the ones that come through the floor pan, you probably don't even need a roll bar at that power level. But for safety reasons, if you're tracking the car and you're driving it quite a bit, it's not a, you know, it's a no-brainer to go ahead and start thinking about doing that too. So, and when you start getting into modified, which is the power level I'm going to consider myself at, which is like 550, well, let's call it 600. 600 to, let's call it 800. That's like another tier there. So you start getting into the modded section here. You're going to have to naturally step your game up a little bit. So 31 spline is just fine. The 6, 7, 800, depending on how much your car weighs. But I'm going to be honest with you, it's really on borrowed time at that point. You know, axle, you know, you're going to want to start thinking about your axle, 35 spline, maybe a spool. You don't need it. I don't think they make a diff that's, let me think here. 35 spline spool. or like a 33 spline with a diff. That makes sense. A little bit stronger. Your axles, you're going to probably want to, or your shocks, you're going to probably want to go coil over at that point if you want to do that sort of different suspension stuff. Or you go with like a double adjustable Viking, okay? Coil over, rear shocks, or double adjustable. Like, I'm just putting Viking because it's just a brand that we use. Keep that checklist. I'm not yet.
Yeah.
So your axle is definitely a concern at 600 to 800. When you that should be like the first thing, you know, as far as your AOD, you're gonna have to really kind of get. Oh, got a dick. AOD is AOD would probably want to do like a 4R70W internals. At that point, probably not a bad idea, where you get like a hardened input shaft and a better valve body and stuff like that. You know, you could go with a C4, you know, with converter. Actually, both of them, you're going to have to stall the converter differently. As far as a transmission is concerned, you're probably going to have to change your transmission at this point. You know, if you're a manual. So, you know, stick shift, you're looking at a TKX or a 56, T56. These swaps are not cheap. To do a T56 swap, you're looking at dropping about $5 to $7 grand. To do a TKX swap is probably a little bit cheaper than that. Hanlon can go ahead and put here in the Hanlon is the sponsor, one of the sponsors of the channel, so he can tell you what a swap would be. You probably want to go with a twin disc at this point. Twin disc, you know, whatever brand you want to run. I would run the RST. The RST is not a good. I didn't have any. I just had no luck with RST. Like, I would go with RXT, the Cloud, or Ram has a twin. Vengeance has a twin. So, you know, and there's a Vengeance twin that I actually have on the shelf over here that's good to about 800 wheels. So that's, it's good. They all have great pedals. Like this, I don't know if you guys, you start getting into the modified, the higher tier clutches, the singles seem like they have like a harder foot pedal. When you start getting into your twins, I mean, it's like better than stock. I can push my clutch pedal in with my hand. It's pretty light. So this is where you're looking at here. You know, obviously we're moving to the front. You're going to want to run a tubular, you know, tubular K member, you know, for adjustability. You know what I mean? I mean, you could run a stock K member, but why at that point? If you're making 600 to 800, you got a lot of money in your motor and your power adder. So tubular K member, coil over. It could be a single. It doesn't have to be a double in the front. Single adjustable. As far as brakes are concerned, you could run Brembo, the cheap Brembo upgrade. You could run the Stranges. I wouldn't put Stranges there right now. Do the 5-lug swap. There, you know, you could do 5-lug swap over here. That's not a big deal. But, you know, as far as brake stuff is concerned, if you did the 5-lug swap, you can do it with the SN95 over here. Does any of this make sense, or I'm going crazy? Like, this is just the experiences that I've had with all of this stuff. Like Project Hot Wheels and my dad's car, the white car and the black car have all been through this stages. So if you guys got questions on the TEIRS, just ask me here in chat, and I'll let you guys know. But I'm trying to kind of teach, like, when you underbuild and overbuild, this is the stuff you want to think about. You don't want to make this power and have this stuff on this list. You see what I mean? You want to try to equal your power level. So, like, one of the problems that I have right now is I need better rear shocks. My axle's fine, but I'm also needing to change my clutch. You see what I mean? My power adder exceeds this, so I'm going to start thinking about, you know, better subframes and better roll bar. Make it a full cage. Make it an 850 cert. You see what I mean? Because we're going to go try to go faster with that car. You see what I mean? So this is the rabbit hole, guys. And this is just another way of looking at the rabbit hole. It's a whole nother formula. When you start modding your car, regardless of how much power you make, NA, I don't care if it's NA, supercharged, nitrous, whatever. This is the stuff you really want to think about. Double adjustable Vikings. You're talking reinforced axle. And what I mean by reinforced axle, if you guys ever watch my videos, you see the bar. I have an actual chrome moly inch and a quarter, inch and a half bar that goes from one tube, welds to the bottom of the diff or the housing, and then it welds to the other tube, so there's no twisting involved. There's a number of different braces that you can buy, but I braced the axle and I put 9-inch ends on it, which makes it even stronger. So reinforcing axle, 9-inch ends. That's kind of more 35 spline and 9-inch ends is kind of 1,000 plus, to be honest with you. But reinforced axle, at least C-clips, and 33 splines that we talked about up there. So, so I don't know if some of this is making sense to some of you guys. Cadillac. So how can you make? You can kind of go back and forth. Like if you're only making 250 to 350. But you plan on making this is the type of stuff you're going to want to think about. Like I tell people all the time, you know, they ask me, well, what clutch should I run? I have an on 3.30 stock bottom end on 3 kit with an Explorer intake, and I make 550 or 450 or whatever, 400 horsepower. What clutch should I run? And I tell everybody, just put a twin in it. Like you can get a twin disc. It's expensive, but it'll be the last twin disc you ever buy. Until you reach, you know, outlaw. I'm going to call it outlaw. Your outlaw cars are kind of like what my buddy Corey Binks's car is at. It's crazy. He has a very specifically built 351 engine. It's not a 351 8.2 deck. It's different. Trust me. The way that him and the mad scientist built this motor, it's a lot of this stuff is exotic stuff that you won't hear, like Mincer shocks. You're talking T56 faceplate. That's what I kind of have on my car. I kind of have like an outlaw transmission in my white car, but I don't have an outlaw clutch. You see what I mean? Outlaw clutches would be an adjustable, like a Black Magic adjustable. You're talking $3,000 clutches that need to be adjusted, that have weights on them. They're centered iron, so they're definitely not going to slip. You see what I mean? So you start getting into outlaw. Outlaw is your big money stuff. That's the stuff that you see. You know, we see on social media, we're like, wow, that car just went super fast, but there's a lot of stuff, you know, tens of thousands of dollars in that car that was definitely built. You know, the goal is to get your car built on the same, the same level, you know, pretty much the whole car works together. So in my car, my white car and my black car definitely aren't working together. That's for sure. Phil Rush, I just got a TKX with an RST. What issues did you have with the RST? It just slipped. I just didn't like it. I'm pretty sure the RST is isn't that an organic twin? I don't like that at all. As soon as I went to the RXT ceramic twin, I had no issues. I still don't have any issues. I actually run the RXT HD in both my black car and my white car, but we're soon to be changing that. Hopefully, maybe, depending on what we got going on with handling, we might be changing our clutch setup to a Ram twin disc. So it's supposed to be a really good setup. So we start talking about tires. So you can get away with a 26-inch, let's call it racing stuff, okay? 26-inch slick, okay? No problem at this power level, okay? You can get away with it up here too, but I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. You definitely want to start thinking about running a street drag radial too, like maybe for your street tires. Like your hard tires are pretty much, well, you'll just blow them off in every gear because they're just, the tread wear is too hard. So you want to start thinking about street drag radials as if you don't have, I always suggest people that do a little bit of track racing to have a separate set of rears only just for the track. You put a couple slicks on there, tubes. I've seen people use 10 holes, or not 10 holes, but turbines, and it worked just fine. So street drag radials, that's definitely something you want to start thinking about with at this level. At the modded level, you're going to want to start. You want to start thinking about putting a 28 on there, because 600 to 800 on a 26, that makes for a good time. That's for sure. I'm going to tell you that right now. 28-inch plus, definitely still on street drag radial. If you run separate wheels like I do, always street drag radial. Tires are really big, important. I mean, you're talking about bead locks at this point. You're talking about screws. You know, I put screws in my wheels, but that pretty much was, you know, a lower tier in my opinion. It's kind of like doesn't do anything for me. You know what I mean? So, you know, I should have never screwed my wheels, but it is what it is. I had a Ram twin. It was great. So it was at the centered iron one. I'm supposed to be getting a deal set up. I don't know. Am I allowed to say this on channel, Andrew? Yeah. So when we're talking about street drag radials, we're talking about R2s. We're talking about, I actually didn't mind the G2s. Here's the R2s right here. The Mickey Thompson SSs, and that goes for both of them. You know, that goes for both sides. You know, it's a good street. If you're going to run a slick on the track and have a separate set of slicks, you definitely want to step up to a 28 if you can fit it under there on the modded section. Outlaw is going to be your double bead locks. It's going to be a specific tire size, whether it's like a, you know, you probably at that point, Outlaw is actually probably racing some sort of class that is bound by a tire, like a 275 or whatever. What's up, Lamar? So yeah, so me and Ram are supposedly be setting up a deal. As you guys already know, I need to get my clutch situation figured out. My twin disc RXT, it's a great clutch. It's an HD. They make two different RXTs. They're both diaphragm clutches. The RXT regular, good to like 1,000. Crank, probably get you to about 700, and it's going to start taking a beating. And the RXT HD, all it really is the RXT itself with more spring pressure and more, you know, pressure plate pressure to keep it clamping force. That's the word I want to use. Now, Ram has a twin that I'm supposed to be possibly getting. It's about a $2,400 clutch, and it's a twin centered iron, which I think it's the same twin that Hanlon runs in his Coyote car. And it's a pretty badass clutch, and he's kind of overbuilt for that clutch because it's very important that he has a clutch that's kind of over the top for various reasons because of the way he drives his car. So the NT05 street drag radius work well too. So we'll put that on there because I did run the NT05s too. So the R2s, NT05. Let's put that over here. I mean, I don't even have room for Outlaws, but I'll just talk about that more than anything. So that's kind of like the overbuilding and underbuilding of what's going on in my cars. My black car makes 800, 750 wheel, doesn't have the right axle. My coilovers are fine in the front, but I only have the single adjustables from this side. I don't run an AOD, but at this point you're talking about different internals and possibly switching to a C4. That's why I got that over here for the automatic guys. Can you guys see the board still, right? In my stick shift, I'm doing pretty good. I got both TKX and T56 for my black car and a twin disc in it. So I'm good there. But I got a tubular K member, but I do not have a 5-lug or Brembo brakes. Brakes are very important. So let me add that to the list. 450 to 500, you can get away with stock brakes. Pretty easy. Stock brakes, fine. But you want to start thinking about upgrade. Upgrade soon. If you're going to run stock brakes at 450, 500, at least do yourself a favor and add a good rotor and pads. So definitely want to run like a drilled slotted, and it's matching pad. So you can get away with stock brakes at this level, not a big deal. Matter of fact, my black car has stock brakes on it, but it's got a really good rotor and really good pad. But I do have Brembos. I will show you the Brembos. I think I have them still over here. I gotta move a couple things, so give me a second here. We start talking about 5-lug swapping your fox body, you know, and I'm going to take this stuff I'm going to show you guys what I got for the black fox body. You know, this is like a good, you know, drilled slotted. I think these were Power Stop, and they were, oh no, these were Calhoun. These are for an SN95, and they go on a specific side. They're well made, and they're pretty kick-ass. They're about $100 a piece, or 175 or something for the set. Does that make sense? This is your Brembo caddy brake. And you see the Cadillac on there? See it says Brembo on it? This is probably one of the best upgrades you can do when you start getting into the power levels of when you start making like 450, 500, and you really want to kind of spend your money on suspension and brake stuff first. This is definitely what you want to go with first. See the 4-piston inside? Pretty badass. They make a kit. There's a company that makes a kit that'll bolt this right up to a SN95 spindle. So, and I've seen people get stickers and paint these and make crazy things. Another thing with the brakes, it's not just the SN95, but you also got to run like a 94, 95, like master cylinder setup here, and probably change your brake booster. Brakes can be done. I mean, you can get away with stock brakes. If you're converting a 4-cylinder, I definitely would do brakes like first. So I have a single disc version. You're getting a dual disc with a tamer. Okay. My stock we're in is going into the shop to get pinion and new True Track tomorrow. So that's a good idea. You know, Northern Mustangs. Seatbelt upgrades are also important. 30-year-old things can rip. So when you're making 600 to 800, you know, oh, I forgot about the cage. Definitely want to be in a 10-point. I mean, you can get away with a roll bar, but you probably want to upgrade your seatbelts. Most likely, if you're at this stage anyways, when you start making horsepower, you're going to want to build your car to kind of IHRA, NHRA spec, which is 10-point cage, you know, SFI seat belts, you know, basically, obviously you don't want to race without, you know, having equipment like your helmet and your fire suit and such like that. But definitely want to try to be as safe as you can, because outlaw, you know, you start getting into your 850 certs, you start getting into the 8-second, everything starts to change again. Brembo's ATS 2014. What's up, Lamar? It's good to see you, my man. So I hope I'm not boring you guys here. This is some of the stuff. This is like rabbit hole stuff. And this is the stuff I try to teach using my own experiences. You know, my black fox body makes 750, has a 363 stroker in it that should not be in there. I'm glad it is. It's a badass motor, but it's kind of you know, underused, for lack of a better phrase, because it technically should be in my white car to begin with. But we put it in here because, you know, we wanted to be a little bit, you know, we wanted something different. You got a TKX that's underpowered behind it, but the reason why that TKX is behind that 363 was for obvious reasons of seeing how strong it was. And I can tell you that I shipped my TKX on the street without a clutch. I did a video on it. I still do it today. Did I want you to ship your TKX without a clutch? Probably not suggested. Unless you got some good experience in shifting, you know, a transmission in general, probably don't do that. But I've had no issues with the TKX. We still make 700 plus on it. We took it to the track. It's probably got 50 passes on it now. It doesn't whine. As soon as I changed the fluid, it started shifting well. I haven't even put a shifter base in it because Hamlin hasn't sent me one. I mean, because they don't have one out yet. Is the kit S&S engineering? That's correct. S&K, SKS, I don't know. I asked them to, I haven't bought their kit yet, but it's about $175. I mean, you could do it yourself by drilling stuff out. There's a cheaper way to do it, but their kit's kind of already, reverse engineered that whole scenario. So guys, if you can get to the junkyard, it doesn't even matter. 94, 95, 96 to 04. It doesn't even matter what spindle you get, because if you do get a 96 to 04, suggested that you do a bump steer. You should do a bump steer anyways, but regardless. 6-point will swing outs for my car over the winter, so I'm legal. So a 6-point will get you to, with swing outs, will get you to, you know, 990s. I think the IHRA and NHRA rules is that, but I think you have to switch to a 10-point with the crossbar at 990, and that'll take you to 850 cert or whatever. But definitely, listen, guys, tightening your car up with a cage makes your car not only drive better and straighter, but it makes your car perform a little more controllable. These cars, remember, these Fox bodies are all just a bunch of pop can spot welds, and doing good subframes on it, especially the ones that you can bring through the floor pan, full length subframes, or just, you know, putting even a roll bar in it, you know, a 6-point, 8-point roll bar with a crossbar, it will change the way the car handles and performs. It'll be straight and have more of a stiff ride to it than feeling so loose. You see what I'm saying? So outlaw. So there's definitely some stuff to be talked about when we're talking about, you know, underbuilding and overbuilding. You know, you kind of want to try to build your car. You know, you do with what you have. You guys see with that 387 build, I'm just building it budget and cheap, and I don't care. You know, it's going to be a little bit high compression, but we're doing something cheap and budget for the channel because there's really not any information about that out there. Is there a cheaper way to do the 387 build? Sure, you could use like Chrysler 600 or L6 rods with a 400 modified crank, but here's the problem with that. You're going to be spending more money on machine work making the crank and those rods work than just buying a $300 385 crank. So, Vermilion Villain, hello. I just wondering, so difficult to find a stock brake booster. Why is LMR only sells a 93 brake booster? I absolutely understand the benefits. Okay, so to answer your question, Vermilion, they probably, first of all, NPD is a site you could check. American Muscle is a site you should check. Like NPD Auto probably has what you're looking for. However, the 93 Cobra booster is an upgrade. It'll work just fine with the stock master cylinder and the stock brakes, and you'll already have that in position. So when you start doing this upgrade, you know, the Brembo upgrade with the bigger brakes in the front, legitimately, guys, that 4-piston Brembo, you don't really need rear disc if you got that much stopping power in the front. But you're talking about an adjustable proportion valve, a really good rotor, and a Brembo. So if you're really at that point, I'm gonna be honest with you, Vermilion, if you're at that point where you're trying to choose, you know what I mean? What you know, hold on a second. When you're trying to choose what brake booster or trying to find a brake booster, just go with it. Now, seriously, just put the 93 Cobra brake booster in. You already have one of the hardest ones to do on the brake swap over or whatever. You know, at that point, you could put one of these on, you know, an SN95 master cylinder. You start doing your adjustable proportion valve, and you can do your own, you know, 5-lug conversion in the front with badass brakes. That'll be fine until 600-800 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower. So I think we're lagging here. Anyway. So that's about it, guys. I mean, if you guys got questions about any of the mods that I spoke of right here, even if you watch this as a podcast later on tomorrow or whatever, just put it in comments. I'm pretty active with answering in comments. If you guys got any questions about stuff like this, you know, what you shouldn't, you know, I'm always giving, you know, good advice on, you know, I try to give the best advice I can to everyone, you know, based on a lot of my own experiences or whatever. So am I still on here? Like, I haven't seen chat move in forever. Is there football on tonight? I'm curious. People must be watching football. I'm a big advocate of football, but I mean, I don't care that much. I coached for a long time and kind of got out of it the last couple of years. Hey, what's up? Better late than never. What's up, Gary? So, what do we got coming up this week? Has anybody got any questions about the, you know, the overbuilding and underbuilding? I talk about this shit all day. I can talk about this until day's end, but you know, I'm definitely living proof of, you know, with my foxbody Mustangs that I got to try to get them all on the same level. You know what I mean? It takes money. You got to do with what you got to do. Just asking before, I literally picked up an 89 tropical yellow. Nice. Tropical yellow, the mimosa yellow, tropical yellow is one of my favorites, especially the coupe. Definitely keep that thing nice and clean. So anyways, so what else is new, guys? Control arms. There's a lot of upgrades I can go through. When we're talking about a rear axle, you definitely want to go with sphericals. So we'll ask you, you know, you don't really need, you know, control arms upgraded. Yeah, just like a decent, you know, a decent name brand with bushings. You know, with control arms over here, you want to start thinking about spherical ends. They tend to chatter a little bit, so, you know, adjustable. Because at that point, you know, if you're making that much horsepower than the street, then you're probably taking it to the track. So, talk about changing transfer. What do you like or recommend? For what? The TKX or your wine? Your transmission? I always ran the synchro mesh. TKX, T56, both of them. My faceplate runs on gear oil. It's a shockproof, a Redline shockproof gear oil, lightweight gear oil. Lots of questions, never enough time. Can I talk about this for hours? I agree with you, Gary. I agree. T5 probably just run. If it's whining, you could put a synchro mesh in there and see if it'll shut it up a little bit. It's a yellow bottle at your parts store. It'll say synchro mesh on it. I think they took Pennzoil out of it because it used to be a Pennzoil product. I think the name's off of the bottle now. I think it's just like a synchro mesh. It's what it's just called. There's a couple places that sell the synchro mesh. Handler Motorsports sells a synchro mesh. They sell fluids as well. And maybe Andrew can help you out with a little bit of fluid or whatever. So, so what do we got coming up this week? I have a video from I got a short video tomorrow from one of the passes I did. Did you guys like the 599 pass that we did? It was just like a 2-minute video. I'm going to probably set one up for tomorrow. Just an easy, fast video, you know, something you can watch while you're, you know, starting the car. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit there and watch for 8 or 10 minutes. Tuesday, you know, what does my fox body weigh? I'm going to actually show you guys some of the weight differences and what we're going to do, what the future plans of the channel with both of these cars, the white and the black car. We are starting to gear up to do the 387 assemblies coming soon, because we got all the machine work done. All we're doing is waiting on Dave to finish up the head. So I don't think it'll be this week, but we got to get that motor done ASAP, because we need to get it in the car so we can shake it down before the end of the year. We have the GT40 comparison coming up very, very soon. I think I'm going to actually schedule that for this week, or at least shoot the video this week. What size is the fan belt part number on your black car? 67 inches. It's K670. How's that work? Just every belt manufacturer is a little bit different, but I'm pretty sure if you're running the aftermarket turnbuckle style alternator bracket, like on 3 cells, then you're looking at, you know, like 67 inches. Is the Dakota gauges worth it, in your opinion? Not really. Definitely something cool to get, though. What happened to your dad's car? Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. So we are going to be changing the only reason why dad's car was down was because we bent all the stupid rear Moroso axle studs. I hate those things. I have bent probably 20 of them. ARP ones, I've probably bent maybe 2 out of like 30. And I say 30 because I've had other axles. The ARP ones definitely take a beating, man. They take those 2.5 inch, 3 inch ones. They take a whooping, man. So we're going to be sticking the ARP. I got a used set that I pulled out of the white car that weren't bent really. So I'm pretty sure my dad's car will be fine. But it was getting to the point that we were literally pounding the Moroso axle studs back into place just to put the wheel on. And at that point, I just nixed the whole thing and said, you know what? Until we get ARP, you know, axle studs in, then we're not going to even drive the car because it's kind of unsafe. Well, that just happened a couple weeks ago because ARP was on back order for almost 3 months. So we are going to be doing a little bit more with dad's car. To be honest with you, I'm going to probably be talking about it on the channel too. My dad's kind of getting up there in age, and he's starting to have, you know, physical ailments like his knees and his hip and stuff. And I don't know if, you know, maybe now would be a good time to put an automatic transmission in this car, because I'm pretty certain that, you know, pushing a clutch pedal is kind of hard on him a little bit. I know his truck is stick shift and he kind of hates it. Don't forget U-joints. Yes. So good call. Drive shaft and U-joints. Obviously you want to go to, we'll go drive shaft, U-joint. You want to step that up to a 1350. Okay. 1350 is a larger one, which is also going to change your yoke. So when you change your gears on your axle up here, it's going to have to be a larger pinion yoke. Is that right? Pinion flange. So good call. Pinion flange. Trying to right sideways is terrible. Whatever. Have you done a video adjusting roller rockers? You don't adjust roller rockers. There's a certain way to torque them down, but literally it's just when the valve is closed. Do you think one day you could make a video of rockers install? Sure. I've actually had that on the channel, and my dad's car, when we did it on my dad's car. So I think what we might do with dad's car is either put it back to complete stock and take the driveline out of dad's car, and maybe put an AOD in there so he could just drive easy with it. And maybe we could stick the GT40 turbo that we built and put it in that red coupe that I just got and make like a purposely built track car and see how fast we could go with a stock bottom end GT40P thing. I'm pretty sure I could make that car 2,500 pounds, convert that thing to mass air on an A9L binary editor, put the TKX or the faceplated 500 over there that Hanlon's supposed to help me fix. And I'm pretty sure we could get into the 9s with a GT40 P head motor with a cheap turbo kit. What's up, Blue Collar Fox? Ryan Bass. It's more common for slosh module or sending unit to go out. My fuel gauge is all over the place. It's more common on the slosh, for sure, Ryan. I would check that first because it's easier to do. You drop the tank, you start messing with the sending unit, then you got to drop the tank again. You got to drop the tank. Just trust me. Or is it just a firing order? That's what I do, Larry. It's just a firing order and torque. You want to torque them to, I think it's 20 or 25 foot-pounds. Just follow the instructions. Just make sure when you're putting the rocker arm on that you're the torque bit nut, whatever, the pedestal bolt, not the nut, the bolt, is on the flat side of your roller, because there's two sides to a roller rocker. There's the rounded side that's supposed to sit in the like the pedestal, and then there's a flat side. And I've done that before. Trust me. I fixed people's cars with that. What's up, GSF 420X? Yeah, I'm not sure what we're going to do with Dad's car at the end of the year. I mean, we talked about, you know, like I say, I talked about going auto and just putting a stock motor back in it for him. I mean, we did all them upgrades. We'd still take the upgrades out and put them in the coupe. But, I mean, my dad's getting older, and, you know, he hardly ever drives his car as it is. I'm thinking maybe if I just made it kind of tame, you know, and make it comfortable for my mom and my dad to drive in, that maybe they might drive it more than they do that silly van that they have. Probably a no-brainer. Maybe put some AC in it or something. So, yeah. Anyways, I got about 5 more minutes, guys. You know, again, big shout to Handler Motorsports, #1 sponsor on the channel for sure. You guys got any transmission stuff that you want to deal with, make sure you give them a call. GM, Mopar, Ford, whatever. Donnie B over at Anderson Ford Motorsports, take care of your camshaft and pretty much your power adder needs. You know, big shout to my man, cousin Paul and Sandy, for helping me out at Fat Man Invasion yesterday with the vendor tent, and, you know, and my girlfriend Katie. So it's always good to have a little crew with you when you're doing stuff like this. You know, I couldn't do it without them, for sure. Bro, you ever mess with 8-to-1 headers? I'm dying to make a set. So it's funny that you bring up Dad's car. We're going to probably finish the season with what we were trying to do with the speed density car. All we got to do is change the axle studs. We did do the alignment on the black car. I'm interested to see what it'll do now at the track. So we can go to the track on Wednesday. Maybe I can get cousin Paul, if he's still here in the chat. Maybe I can get cousin Paul to drive Dad's car. We got fuel we got to burn before the year's out anyways in it for you know, I don't want to waste it. So, but anybody got birthdays coming up? I had mine yesterday. Hit 45. If you didn't already hear it. So I do appreciate all the happy birthdays that I got on Facebook, on Instagram. If you guys get a chance, go follow me over on Instagram, on Facebook. We're at Neomustangs on both of them. So Instagram blew up quite a bit. So I definitely would appreciate if you guys are interested in getting part of other social medias. I'm trying to do like the TikTok thing, just foxbody stuff, guys. I don't do anything else. Chris Gordner, man, I appreciate the super chat, the super sticker. We actually had someone else. Sean. Oh yeah, Sean became a new YouTube member. I think he was a membership YouTube channel member. I think he was a channel member before, but I think he just came back to the channel. So I do appreciate that for sure. So what do we have for gifts? We have a couple things I want to talk about real quick. And for you guys that are here late and stayed with me for the whole live stream, I'm sorry if it wasn't like a super impressive best out of 10, this, that, or the other. But I think it does. This is a topic that I wanted to talk about because pertains to me and my experiences. So if I can help somebody, guys, if you don't have the money to do stuff like that, just do what you got to do. Like, you know, the 387 build, legitimately doing the 387 build here on the channel to show you that you can build like a poor man's 408. Literally, it's a stroked 387. It's a stroked 351, like a stroked 408. You know what I mean? It's gonna make some serious power. But if you're gonna go budget and build that motor, think of two things before you do. One, if you can pick up a set of cylinder heads that have a big chamber on them, that's doing you a monster favor right off the bat. So if you had your choice, you know, and you could pick a set of heads, legitimately build a cheap stroker underneath of it and be just fine. So if I had to redo it, if I was sitting there with a handful of money, I would say to myself, you know what? I'm going to buy a 72cc set of heads, or a higher cc chambered aluminum head if I can get my hands on them, and then I'm going to build a 387 stroker. And then if it works, it works. If it don't, listen, the chamber is going to get rid of the compression. You got somebody out there that's boring their fox body out 30 over, ask them for the pistons, because that's one of the components to making the 387. The other components are already on the damn motor that you get. It's already the football rods or the regular rods. So all you got to buy is a $300 crank and do some machine work. You got yourself a stroker motor. So the only main component in that is if you run an E85, I wouldn't worry too much about the compression. But if you can get a set of higher chamber CC heads, and I'm talking about the D1, the DOEs or the C9OE heads, the 351s that have been worked, you can use those as well too. So, I'm telling you, get budget, man. Get budget, make power. Greg, man, I appreciate the $20 super chat, man. Thanks again for donating to the channel. Happy belated birthday. Didn't get any alerts on Facebook or Instagram. Happy birthday. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks, Chuck. I appreciate it. So, again, I know everybody's had questions about the 387. We just did a 387 build. If there's one thing you're going to do to make the build better, if you've already got your hands on an old set of 351 cylinder heads that have been worked before and had larger valves put in them, that's a one budget way of defeating the compression monster on that thing, because, you know, the fox body pistons are only like a -6, -7 dish, if that. And when you deck the block and you use the Windsor rods, you're literally putting that piston probably not even 5 in the hole. It'll be pretty much 0 decked. But running a larger chamber cylinder head, you know, your compression will be, mid-10s to 1, which is perfectly fine for any pump gas for the most part. And that'd be a badass little motor, man. You could take a set of C9OE or D9 or DOE heads, if you guys know what I'm talking about, and kick some ass on that motor. I mean, that'd be one crazy build that you could just call it a stock 351, even though it's got a stroker crank and nobody will know the difference. I bet you that motor, even with a set of good work 351 heads, because I'm pretty sure that the old C9 and DO heads are like a 70, 72 cc. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the old 351 cylinder heads have that. They're kind of boat anchors, but if you wanted to do some, when you want to get super budget, spend the $300 on the crank and start getting all these factory parts, you could port your own cylinder head. You got to send it over to the machine shop, get big. I'd definitely put bigger valves in the 351. The old school 351 heads, and they're also raw, a stud mount. So you'd have to change that over a little bit. There's some working to be done, but a lot of that's machine work and porting and all that other crap. So that's something that I would be considered if you don't have a whole lot of money, you want to build this motor, legitimately, start with the cylinder heads. So anyways, guys, got a few more minutes here. What else was I going to say? So what's coming up this week on the videos? I think I mentioned something about a short with my Fat Man Invasion thing that I did yesterday or last week. I didn't do a film at all, just a little bit of racing. We got the weight reduction. We got the how much does my fox body weigh, and we got another video for. We went back to the junkyard and got some things I want to show you that I picked up. You'd be surprised. You guys like those junkyard videos, so we're going to revisit the same junkyard we just came from. So I think you guys will be happy. Put a deposit on something. And, of course, we're going to probably take the black and the blue car to the track this week, if not one or the other, if not both. So, hell yes, that's what we got going on the channel. You know, we're gearing ourselves up. We got to get Dad's car moving again to be able to do the GT40 thing. So that might be something that I shift to. But I definitely might do a video with the black car because I'm really super curious to see if that thing goes straight. I'm not even worried about how fast it goes. I will turn it the hell up because it's only making 13 pounds as it is. So I'll crank it up a little bit, make it go straight, and see if we can do so, you know, make those 26-inch slicks party. Northside Hog, happy birthday to my boy. Dude has got me lacing people up with Fox Bodies all day. Great video. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate that. So, anybody got any more questions before we go? 387 build, GT40 comparison, white car, black car, turbo. Foxtoberfest is coming up. I will be at Foxtoberfest. So won't Hanlon in his car. So if you guys want to check out Hanlon's car, it should be there at Foxtoberfest, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Andrew? I'm not real sure which car I'm taking to Foxtoberfest yet, just yet. If you guys don't know what Foxtoberfest is, I think it's been running for 10 or 15 years. Fox Mustang Resto puts it on like Chocolate Fox and the Fox Body Cruise at Mustang Week, which isn't there anymore, but whatever. They put it on. They did an excellent job this year. So shooting for 1,000 Fox bodies. They brought the SVO club in. I think that's what she had said. Correct me if I'm wrong. But hopefully we get a whole bunch. We got enough for 1,000 Fox bodies, so we're going to get them there parked. 980s coming up on what? The white car went 972 last year. That's the fastest the black car's been with the TKX. We went 972 at 144, 42, something like that. That car is it's underbuilt for that power level. I mean, the cage is a self-done cage, which I did a pretty good job. Subframes, they're not that good either, really. It's only got a 31 spline axle with C-clip eliminators. I got some tier 1 shit in that car, man. Fox body stock brakes. Tell you what, man. Got a lot of this stuff in here. 11 years. Okay, so they've been up for 11 years. Yeah, my black car's been 948 at 147 back when we had the stock bottom end 357 in it with the pretty much the same setup that the white car has, but we switched, you know, we built a 408. But with the 363 in front of the TKX, we went 972 at 3,400 weight, 3,420, 3,450. We went 972 at 140. I think it was 43. I don't know. There's a video about it. But that was last October. It was almost a year ago. We need to get these brakes on the black car. I mean, I'm not necessarily worried about the drum brakes in the back. I'm going to be honest with you guys. We snap a 31 spline. It's not going to go anywhere. I mean, C-clip laminators to keep it from going anywhere. But, you know, my whole goal is to upgrade the brakes in the front, set it to like a 75-25 or like an 80-20 bias, if you guys know what I'm talking about, where you get most of your braking power comes from the front. So I'm just going to make it so it stops from the front for the most part. I'm not really worried about the rear too much. So not that that's the right answer. So, yeah, I mean, I love the way the car looks. It's blacked out everywhere. And I don't know. It's been like this underdog car in my shop for the longest time, whereas the white car's always got the good parts. So anyways, any more questions? Got about 50 people here in chat. Wasn't a super awesome live stream, but I do appreciate everybody for showing up that did. And I want to give a huge shout out to the people in the channel again. Sean Fisher for joining it's the join button below on the video, guys, on all the videos, channel memberships. You know, $20 from Chris Gordner and $21 from Greg. Is that Breu? I'm sorry if I butchered that, man. So I do appreciate that guy. And I appreciate everybody who's part of the channel. Guys, I just appreciate you just hanging out with me and talking about my passion, you know, Fox bodies. Is that why we have Knight Rider theme song? Yes. So the black car is kind of like it's kind of like my Knight Rider. It's funny you picked that up. I'd like to do the LED in the front. That'd be pretty cool. As always, good content, no matter what. I appreciate that, Gary. If I was if I got $2,500, if I got $2,500, last thing I want to do is brakes. Yeah. The Brembo great brake upgrade, to be honest with you guys. If you spent the money on the Brembos, I think they're $150 each. As far as the calipers, probably got 150 in rotors, SN95 spindles. You can get them for like $40 a piece at the junkyard. If you get lucky and find one, it doesn't matter. V6, V8, it doesn't matter. It has the same spindle. Probably about another $100 in Moog, some good Moog, like new wheel bearings. You definitely want to put new wheel bearings on. You don't want to be using the old ones. And you got the 93 Cobra brake booster. You got the master cylinder, and then you got. It sounds like a lot, but it's really all about $750 in brake upgrade, to be honest with you. But don't forget, add bump steer if you want, and then you add an alignment. You're looking at like $1,000, and you pretty much have brakes that can stop a car at a 800 plus ish. I mean, I don't know. I haven't been that far yet, but I don't have any problems with my converted front stopping. So thank you for always putting out great content. I appreciate that, MJP. So anyways, guys, I want to finish with telling you that I know I talk a lot about, it's a lot of money here. Okay. We talk about stock stuff. We talk about modded stuff. There's a lot of cheap budget stuff that's on my channel. I do that because, I may have a 363 and a 408, but I definitely dig this 387 build. I always like my stock bottom end GT40 stuff. I've always been a, advocate for doing stuff like that. When you're building a Fox body, you build with whatever budget, time, money available. Some of us have larger families than others. Some of us have time restraints, work restraints. Some of us don't even have that much money to work with. I get that. And, you do with what you got to do when you're building your car, whether it's a Fox body or not. So, try to be a little bit thrifty in some of my junkyard builds, some of my junkyard videos. I'm always trying to teach. I'm always trying to suggest, the top dollar stuff isn't always the best. It may not be the best for your situation, as you can see here. So, so anyways, guys, I appreciate everybody for watching the channel. If you're watching it after the live stream, give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment if you have any questions about any of this stuff. Want to add to this list? I'm always adding stuff, always adding content. I encourage you guys to check out the join button. Outside of that, guys, I appreciate you, and I will see you soon in a video this week. Thank you.